to round 9 of the 939 Corsa Touring Car Championship. We are here this evening at my local track, actually, Alton Park in Cheshire, in England. At least I like to pretend I'm from Cheshire. We don't really delve into the fact that I'm from Merseyside. But yes, Cheshire in England, we pay visit to this evening. Currently qualifying, just under 5 minutes to go of this session. This session currently being led by John Cole. It was a 120.9, his best lap so far. About 0.3 of a second faster than Will Inglis. Barry Clayton not too far behind. Jack Hodson not too far behind there with Rosie Oliver in P5 as well. Steve Knight currently running in P6, but I can tell you that is a mistake, and it should actually be Steve Knight P7, Andrew Bremer P6 with the 123.0, so he is very close to Rosie Oliver here, who is currently running in P5. Just had Andrew Bremer, I believe, having an incident with a wall there, so in this final stage of qualifying, hopefully it doesn't affect his run plan all that much. He's only actually set 3 laps so far. Some of the other competitors are currently on their 13th lap. John Cole, Will Inglis are already bringing us the fight that I suspect we're going to be getting in both race 1 and race 2 this evening. And they're bringing it here in qualifying. They are very close together indeed, as I say, only 2.5 tenths really separating these two drivers. And we'll have a look at where that time is being made, because at the moment John Cole doesn't look like he's got the outright pace to improve upon that time. He's currently about 0.3 tenths down on his personal best last time. We're on board with him at the moment. He's heading down towards, or should I say up towards, actually all of my information is slightly inverted to how it is in the real world. We're heading into Lodge Corner now as we get back onto the start-finish straight before we head into Old Hall. And as we cross the line then, it is a 121.4, so slightly slower this time around, but the deltas are looking good on this lap. So we're going to stay on board with John Cole for this lap, actually, as he is now heading into the run through Lakeside in just a moment. Shell Oils, Will Inglis was pointing out, is going to be one that people want to watch out for this evening. The braking in this, the LP GTM GT3 is tricky at best, shall we say, as Will Inglis has just found that out. He's just had a bit of a contact with the wall there, lost the front and rear wing in one fell swoop. But yes, as Will Inglis was pointing out in the paddock before, the braking into Shell Oils is always difficult here at Alton Park. It's arguably one of the most complicated parts of the lap, if not the most complex part. But in this car with the braking, it could be interesting indeed on lap 1. I suspect we could be having a couple of incidents there, shall we say. That part of Alton Park, we are no stranger to a bit of incident. Just think back to the 1750 GTAs where we had flying Alfa Romeos there, which kind of slightly left me gobsmacked, if you will. We are on board though with John Cole as he crosses the line, and once again it is, unfortunately for him, not an improvement once more. I'm not sure if he's made a setup change or something, because as he heads into each next lap, he seems to be a good few tenths up, indicating that he might have a lot of straight line speed. Maybe he's clicked a bit of wing out of the car, but as a result, he seems to be suffering later on into the lap. No improvement from the top 2 then. Matt Daly has set a lap time. It was a 122.0, so maybe not quite where we'd expect Matt Daly to be, but bear in mind Matt Daly is doing what Matt Daly usually does and has turned up rather late into the qualifying session, as I assume going to set a slightly faster lap this time around. He's already half a second up. We're on board with him at the moment as he heads through that second sector now. The first sector was a 37.3, so it was a very nice first sector indeed, matching that of John Cole on his previous attempt. So flying along is Matt Daly. Let's see now as he heads once again down towards the Lodge Corner. What can he do at the end of the second sector? It's looking very strong as well. This could be a pole lap, ladies and gentlemen. The timer is about to hit 0. In fact, it does hit 0, and Matt Daly crossed the line. It just about misses out on pole. It is certainly faster than Will Inglis, though. It's a 121.05 for Matt Daly on that last lap. Matt Daly is not going to get another attempt in, I believe, although he's certainly going for it like he is. We might have just squeezed in there, and potentially the timing system was off on my end. A bit of latency there, but Matt Daly could be on for a bit of a charge here. John Cole is completed has completed his running for this session. It's a 120.9, that's all he can do, and he will dive back into the pit. Matt Daly currently running in second with Willingless not too far behind. He is also improving on his personal best on this lap. It was a slower sector 1, but sector 2 is looking good as it stands. This is actually a new, fresh lap for him as well. I suspect he's only put 1 lap of fuel in the car. It was out lap, was his previous run. Slower through the second as well, but apparently still half a second up on his personal best. I'm not too sure if that is the case. Jack Hodson crosses the line to go 122.1 as his best then. Willingless crosses the line, doesn't improve that time round, so it's looking good for John Cole as it stands. Barry Clayton's in the pits. Jack Hodson can't improve. Rosie Oliver in the pits. Andrew Brammer can't improve as well. It's Steve Knight, Jack Hodson, Willingless and Andrew Brammer currently out on the track, but a few of these have crossed the line after the timer hit 0. So as it stands, it is John Cole on pole for round 9, race 1 here at Alton Park. We'll just see as the final few cars head back into the pits before we get ready for race 1 in just a moment. Steve Knight rounding that final corner then, getting ready to dive back into the pits. In fact, no, he doesn't. He is on a bit of a charge, so it seems, as Steve Knight crosses the line there. It's 27.3, nothing he can do from that. Willingless as well, still, by the looks of things, in the mix. Although he is slightly slower through that first sector. Everyone else is in the pits now. In fact, it was quite a bit slow through the second sector as well. So that'll be it for Willingless in this race. Oh, sorry, in this session as well. And there he is back into the pits. And that brings an end to qualifying with John Cole and Matt Daly on the front row. Willingless just usurped at the very last moment there by Matt Daly. So we'll see you in just a few moments as we get ready for race 1 here at Alton Park. Welcome back to the action, ladies and gentlemen. Just over 30 seconds now until lights out. We're all lined up on the grid for that run down into the Old Hall corner here at Alton Park. It's John Cole, Matt Daly on the front row, Willie List, Barry Clayton the second, Jack Hodson, Rosie Oliver, that sibling rivalry continuing on the third row there, and then we have Andrew Brammer and Steve Knight rounding out the field for what should be quite an exciting race here, ladies and gentlemen. The revs begin to rise and just over 10 seconds to go. The launch is quite difficult to nail in this car, but if you do it, you are rewarded, and we do have 6 red lights on the gantry. We are away for evening's racing here at Alton Park. John Cole versus Matt Daly, as I say, it's going to be Matt Daly round the outside as we head into that first corner. Contact between Willinglis and Matt Daly. Has that sent Willinglis round? It has. Willinglis collected by Jack Hodson. Then Jack Hodson, I think, maybe steering clear of everyone else. No, looks to be Barry Clayton in the mix there as well. What a shame. Early race incident, and Willinglis's luck at the start of some of these races recently in the single-seater action as well has just been utterly depressing really for him as he drops back down to the bottom of the running. It's still John Cole versus Matt Daly at the front end of the field though. Meanwhile, Barry Clayton, Jack Hodson going to be fighting side by side as we run down through towards Hislops, or where Hislops would be in just a where Hislops is. We are on the curvy layout, as I like to effectively call it. As we see, big moment of oversteer there for John Cole. He gets back on track, actually makes contact with Matt Daly as he does, trying to catch that. Good save, my friend. That was a spectacular catch by John Cole. I'm sure Matt Daly's slightly annoyed about the contact, but also slightly impressed that he was actually still on track to be able to make the contact. That was a good catch there, John Cole. It might have not looked too aggressive on stream, although I think it did look fairly big from the external camera view. But from inside the car, that would have been interesting. That would have been spicy. Anyway, he is surviving to tell the tale. He is still in the lead of this race, is John Cole, and he is now starting the next lap. Willinglis, meanwhile, is battling with Steve Knight, fighting all the way down in P8. He tries to work his way past and up into P7. Willinglis, Steve Knight actually making contact heading into the Old Hall corner there. They both do get back on track though. It's cost him time, but it hasn't cost him too much track position, so they are able to continue on and be at least somewhat competitive in this race. Matt Daly getting closer under braking as we head through the Shell Oils corner there. We haven't had too many major incidents into Shell Oils itself. It seems to be elsewhere on track where we have the incidents. As we get back underway though, Matt Daly versus John Cole. I think Matt Daly's waiting here, trying to get a prime opportunity on John Cole. He is looking strong as Matt Daly at this stage. I suspect in race pace terms he's going to have the advantage, especially when John Cole replicates that issue that he had on lap 1 in lap 2 as well. Could that be a setup thing? I think possibly. Maybe too much of an aggressive launch off the line. That could have cooked the tyres a little bit, and that is one of the more demanding parts of the lap in terms of trying to get the power down in terms of trying to get back up to speed. And as he repeats the same process again, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. The tyres are going to continue to get hotter and hotter the more he does that, so he's going to have to be playing it very careful indeed, is John Cole, as 122.7, whereas Matt Daly has taken a 122 flat in order to get past there. So, as I was predicting, and for once it was a commentator's curtain rule for John Cole. For Matt Daly, it was the complete opposite. As I was saying, I suspect Matt Daly might have the race pace in this race. He gets past. Rosie Oliver, meanwhile, has kept the nose clean at what has been a fairly chaotic start to this race, and finds himself going to be running in P3 ahead of Barry Clayton, Jack Hodson and Andrew Brammer. That's going to be in the midfield. Winning list in that one as well. That's going to be the midfield battle here that is really going to keep Rosie Oliver on her toes. In terms of pace at the moment, it's 122.6 on the last lap, so she is, apart from Jack Hodson, the fastest driver in the midfield at the moment, even faster than John Cole, of course, on that last lap owing to his issues earlier on. So she's certainly in the mix here, is Rosie, but is going to be under pressure as we head later into this lap, under pressure from Barry Clayton. I think the gods have decided that we can now only look inside cars, but inside cars is good. It'll be an interesting camera view. So as we go on board with Jack Hodson there, you can see the back. Oh dear! No, Jack! You were our camera! Jack! One job, Jack. I'm utterly disappointed, what can I say? I mean, Hopefully your race does continue on, you are able to keep the nose clean and continue on once again. But that was a beautiful camera spot to see Rosie Oliver versus Barry Clayton. Unfortunately, Jack Cotton said we don't need to see that. We can see it though in Andrew Brammer's car. Hopefully this isn't a new form of commentator's curse that they've accidentally created. As we can see side by side there, Rosie Oliver and Barry Clayton. Rosie Oliver about a car length ahead heading into the Shell Oils corner now. Good launch there from Andrew Brammer and from Rosie Oliver as well. About 6 seconds per second now separating and Barry. Will Inglis, the fastest car through the first sector on this lap. Will Inglis is on a charge. He's broken clear of Jack Cotton and Steve Knight. Jack Cotton will be on a bit of a recovery drive now, I suspect. And it's now only two seconds flat, in fact. 2 seconds flat down on Andrew Brammer. So, given how his race started, things are still going to be at least mildly, at least a little bit bright for Will Inglis. Oh dear, that is a big off for Barry Clayton. Barry Clayton there on the exit of... Wait, we're on the exit of Druids Corner there. But it all went wrong for Barry Clayton. Hopefully he is able to recover something from this race as well. We go on board at the moment with Will Inglis. Will Inglis is about to come across the line here for what has been a blistering lap. A 1:21.5, it's the fastest lap of the race so far. He's clear of Barry Clayton, of course, up into P5. We thought it might have taken a little while to do, and it might have been against Andrew Brammer. Now if he overtakes Andrew Brammer, he's going to be in the top 4. A mighty drive here from Will Inglis, going well through the midfield. Just 1.1 seconds separating Will Inglis and Andrew Brammer. Board at the moment with Barry Clayton. This could be a good phase in the race for Barry Clayton. Of course, we know he's potentially a little bit of damage from his off at Druids, maybe a bit of dirt on the tyres, although I suspect that has cleared by now. Now he's got Will Inglis in front of him. He can use Will Inglis as a bit of a reference. Now, of course, Will Inglis has some battling to complete, so Will Inglis isn't going to be able to run off into the distance and leave Barry Clayton behind. So this is an important phase of this race for Barry Clayton. As long as he can keep up with Will Inglis at this point, he is going to guarantee himself a few more points later on. We're 7 minutes into this race so far, and not to be outdone, John Cole, who of course was in the mix for the lead battle and is still in the mix for the lead battle at this phase, is flying along at the moment. Matt Daly built a couple of seconds in terms of his lead at the moment, but John Cole is closing that in. It's a 1:21.7 on the previous lap with a purple sector 2 as well. Barry Clayton is also a driver who is closing someone in. We've just been on board with him, but he is certainly pushing along at the moment. In fact, everyone's time's improving. The fuel load beginning to get a little bit light now, but there's still plenty of life left in these tyres. And it's Barry Clayton currently running in P6, about a second behind Will Inglis, who's only half a second behind Andrew Brammer himself. It's all to play for Will Inglis. It's going to be contact there. You can see that happening from a mile away. It was Will Inglis who predicted contact into the Shell Oils corner. I was presuming he wasn't, maybe anticipating it would be him. Now, is that ABS? I'm not quite sure why the car just doesn't seem to be very keen to derate heading into Shell Oils. I'm sure the drivers know a lot more than myself. Either way, Will Inglis currently running in P5. Bit of back end kicking out there on the exit of his lops heading into Knickerbrook. That's catching a few drivers out, actually. That could be very interesting if it isn't already interesting enough at this phase in the race later on, as the cars are light, which obviously can be negative in terms of traction, but the tyres will be worn out as well. That could be very interesting indeed later on. I'm pleased to say we have external cameras back. How fantastic is that? And we can see this three-way battle now for P4. This battle, I should mention, has allowed Rosie Oliver a bit of breathing room. She's running well with a chance at a podium here if nothing goes awry. As something is about to go awry again, you can see these accidents happening from a mile away at Alta Park, so it seems. You could just see the car riding over the curves there, and you knew that back end, there was no chance of catching it. What a shame for Will Inglis. As if his car wasn't already low on downforce, it's a little bit lower now as he heads back on track, heading down towards Cascade here. Cascade a part of the... Oh, could be contact here. No. Seems like he was able to get the car stopped. It's a very narrow track, this Alta Park, and these Julia GTM GT3s are rather wide, so it can create some interesting moments like that. As Will Inglis now finds himself fighting for P7 again. Yes, this is a great shame for him. He's shown immense pace, has Will Inglis, even with a damaged car. That car now a little bit more damaged just like his confidence. It's 30 seconds off the lead of this race with 15 minutes to go. A great shame. Could be a good race for Will Inglis. He had the pace. Back aboard though with Rosie Oliver. She's running well indeed. Ahead of Andrew and Barry Clayton by quite some margin. 2.5 seconds there or they're about to make that 2. Meanwhile, it's very much Brammer versus Clayton at this phase. We head back onto the start-finish sort of straight. Car bouncing around there. Andrew Brammer's car looking very stiff as we headed over the crest through Deer Leap. Yes, these cars aren't usually what you'd immediately find running at Alton Park. Alton Park is an incredibly narrow track. These cars are nice and wide. That can create some interesting racing moments here. And we're seeing most of the racing moments at the moment between Andrew Brammer and Barry Clayton. This is great news for Rosie in P3. John Cole keeping up with Matt Daly, setting similar lap times at the moment. As great move there by Barry Clayton. Can he make it stick? I think he can. He saw the opportunity around the outside there. And you wouldn't immediately think to go for it, but great bravery there from Barry Clayton. That's going to be one of my favourite moves for a little while, actually. That is a fantastic job by Barry Clayton. Just about had the confidence in the car to get the car stopped despite a late braking point and hang it around the outside as well and keep the pace going. That is certainly no mean feat. Shell oils, as we've already learned this weekend, not a forgiving part of the lap. Andrew Brammer then currently running in P5. Barry Clayton has built up a seconds margin already, so good effort by Barry there. Not to be outdone, speaking of building up margins, John Cole has just set a purple Sector 3, but that only matches what Matt Daly is able to do in Sector 2. He set a purple as well. 121.3 for Matt Daly on that last lap. That is the new fastest lap of the race. Rosie Oliver currently improving as well. So we're still seeing the cars getting faster as we approach the halfway stage of this race. Jack Hodson has had a major incident on Deer Leap there. That is a great shame. That is going to promote Steve Knight and Will Inglis a position higher. Well, it won't promote Will Inglis a position higher because Will Inglis is diving into the pits. Disappointment then for Jack Hodson in the mix. In that midfield battle just a few laps ago, unfortunately dropping down, they're running, and I believe the same has happened for Rosie Oliver at Shell Oils. It has. Oh, what a shame for the two siblings there. Rosie finds herself in P5 at the moment after an incredible job running with a chance at a podium as well. Unfortunately, that chance never came to fruition then. So it's currently Barry Clayton with a chance at the podium here, although the rate of attrition in this race, I don't think we can rule anything out just yet. It's Barry Clayton currently running in P3, Andrew Brammer running in P4. Andrew Brammer at the moment. Out of the bunch, one of my favourite liveries, the Martini livery car of Andrew Brammer, just behind Barry Clayton there, the red yellow livery car. Heading into Shell Oils, we've seen this, the undoing of many a driver, and I suspect we could be seeing a little bit more of that, as I said earlier on, when the fuel load is lighter and the car is running on slightly older tyres. It would get a little bit scary. I'm going to go back aboard though with Matt Daly. We haven't seen, I say back aboard, we haven't really seen Matt Daly so far in this race. He's been doing a very good job indeed of leading this race, controlling the pace, not absolutely running away with it. John Cole has been keeping up, but it's a confident lead in this race for Matt Daly. It's certainly not an insurmountable margin there as we've seen running over the curbs. And one thing we've learned so far this evening is the curbs are rather unforgiving here at Alton Park. Back end wants to kick out, you ride over those sharp curbs as we headed onto Deer Leap there. So bravery by Matt Daly to do that has actually allowed, by the looks of things, John Cole to catch up as he runs down into the first corner. So as I said, it's a confident lead, but not a lead that can be completely surpassed. 2 seconds is by no means insurmountable, and 1.2 is even less. In fact, he might be feeling the pressure in a little bit if John Cole can keep this pace up. We're going to head into Shell Oils now. We're at the end of the first sector in just about 5 seconds now, and it's a good run through Shell Oils for John Cole. The launch out of the corner has cost him ever so slightly, but as he closed up under braking, he found a few tenths there that was confident from John Cole. And very close indeed to the tyre wall there, heading through his lops. Very close indeed for Matt Daly, and we can just see as well, Willie Bliss has left the pits and is once again second purple sectors. It's a bitter disappointment for Willie Bliss. Car's been repaired, he knows he's got the pace. That is a great shame. I imagine he's just sort of worked on the basis that I've got half the race anyway. I can probably get to the same position that I pitted from, but with a much more enjoyable car as well. There's logic in that, so probably a wise choice by Willie Bliss. He's still got a first good race coming up, of course. So with this pace, if he can lead the race and keep the nose clean, he's in with a very good shout indeed. Jack Godson, the pace also picking up in his car, as it is for Rosie Oliver as well. I don't think we're being very tyre limited here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure the drivers will confirm that either in between sessions or later on. But it seems to be the case that, yeah, the tyres don't seem to be too much of a limit here. The lap times seem to be getting better and better. I know a few people didn't have too much of an opportunity for practice, so it could also be confidence on track as well is building as we head further into the weekend, which is nice to see. But either way, the lap times are still looking very strong and getting stronger by the moment. Speaking of getting stronger, it seems to be that John Cole's brief phase of getting stronger hasn't completely disappeared yet. It just seems to have waned off ever so slightly. He has dropped back ever so slightly on this lap in particular. Sector 1 costing him with 38.3. He's going to be about 8 tenths of a second slower than his previous personal best. As Steve Knight and Jack Hodson, I believe, have made contact on track. They have made contact, but it was nothing to be really alarmed about. About a 5 mile an hour impact. That could have been a brief kind of graze heading into a braking zone, or just a little bit of trait pading to say hello, I'm heading past. Nothing to worry about at all there. Let's have a look at this moment at how the championship is looking after 9 races. I can't believe already we are heading into the final quarter. We are two-thirds into this, two-thirds into the championship already, and as we conclude this evening, we'll be 3/4 of the way in. At the moment, the championship is being led by Colin Knief, 286 points to his name. That gap will of course be closed up by John Cole, currently running in second in the championship, 250 points to his name. Yeah, and then we have Matt Daly. Matt Daly actually in third at the moment. He was a bit of a latecomer to the championship, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, or just hasn't been able to attend too many rounds so far this year. 175 points to his name, so out of the running in terms of the championship. That is just between John Cole and Colin Knief at this point, but certainly still strong showing indeed in the standing. Alan Matthews running in P4 in the standings. He's not here this evening, so Willing Bliss, if he scored a little bit higher this evening, and if he does score higher in race 2, will be passing Alan Matthews in this evening running. Barry Clayton running in P608 points. He's ahead of Andrew Brammer. And that is exactly how it looks in the race as well. Then we have Jack Hodson's 91 points running in P8, so no change for him, but a couple more points on the board. Steve Knight and Rosie Oliver will be some change there. Rosie Oliver running in P5 at the moment, potentially some change later on this evening. That's just a few of our 15 registered competitors for this second half of the season's running. Just over 6 minutes to go in this session now. Matt Daly leads the race by 3.5 seconds. There's still all to play for in not only this battle for the lead, which could continue on, but also in the midfield as well. Sorry about that, I was in the middle of setting up another OBS scene when I saw Rosie Oliver has had a brief off there. Still running in P5, that's cost her a few seconds. It could have been much more costly though. And we see John Cole picking up the pace once again. He was just over 3 seconds down a few moments ago, but now finds himself a little bit closer. On that lap, it was the third sector that made all the difference there, actually. It was 121.4 on the previous lap, Matt Daly into the 22s. We could be potentially seeing that 5 minutes to go, if we haven't already, and if we're not going to this evening. I'd be surprised, but not completely shocked if we don't see tyre degradation, but I suspect that we are going to see some. It's going to be in the kind of final 5 minutes of each race there. I don't think OBS particularly liked being swapped mid-scene creation there, as we had an interesting graphic built up screen as a result there. So I do hope you enjoyed that one. John Cole still 2.7 seconds down, 14 laps into this race. We are now just under 5 minutes to go on the clock. Jack Hobson still improving on personal best, so I think we are seeing a very clear one-to-one ratio between tyre life and fuel load in terms of pace here. We're seeing that yes, the tyres are wearing down, but we're clearly not wearing down too much because as fuel load is dropping away, which a decent amount of this lap is open front for these cars. We're seeing the pace remaining fairly consistent. Still 3 seconds are on board at the moment with John Cole. 50 laps into this race as we head up Deer Leap. Matt Daly's actually looking like he could improve on this lap. Barry Clayton having contact with a wall. I believe he is back underway. He's managed to break away a decent amount from Andrew Brammer, but that front wing damage will not help his case as we see Matt Daly flying along at the moment. We're going to go on board with him actually. He's heading through Deer Leap in just a moment. He's looking to be about half a second faster than his previous best time. Let's see if he comes across line in just a moment. It is. It's a 121.3. That would have been a competitive lap in qualifying. That is an impressive run from Matt Daly. Apologies, on board with Rosie Oliver at the moment. We're on board at the moment with Matt Daly, as we have been all along. Yes, nothing to see here. But that was an impressive run from Matt Daly. He's either clearly been looking after the tyres for the past few laps or has seen that actually the fuel load is looking safe. He doesn't need to conserve at all and can push on. .2 seconds now separate Matt Daly and John Cole. That gap at one point closed down to about 1.6, maybe even a little bit less than that, but Matt Daly responded to that charge. As we see Jack Cotton actually overtaking Rosie Oliver now, and that was a pure overtake for position there as we head into Old Hall Corner. Who would have thought that it would be looking this way between these two at the start of this race? Rosie Oliver, of course, up in P3. Jack Cotton having issues early on and dropping all the way down the order. Now we find Jack Cotton in P5 and Rosie down in P6. So it's all changed between these two drivers. Just a couple of minutes to go now on the clock as Matt Daly starts another lap, and that'll be lap number 17. That previous lap at 121.6, the only driver at the moment in the 121s apart from Will Inglis. We mentioned earlier on that perhaps it could be the case that Will Inglis decided I'm only going to get P6 at best. I might as well do that with a repaired car, but I believe he's had to dive back into the pits another time because he seems to be quite a ways off despite his fantastic pace in this race. Oh dear, that is Steve Knight having a bit of an off. He is on the inside of the Shell Oils corner. Now that's either he's had a bit of a bounce off a wall and has found himself there, or he's been a little bit too eager on the throttle and the car's immediately spun around. I'm not quite sure, can't quite see it. Either way, not ideal for Steve Knight. That does promote Will Inglis up into P7, so you're welcome, I guess, for that reverse commentator's curse, Will Inglis. Fortunately, it was at the sacrifice of Steve Knight, so I do apologise about that one, Steve. just under 20 seconds to go then until the timer hits 0. Matt Daly does start another lap as well, so this will be the penultimate lap of this race. 4 seconds clear of John Gold. It has been, as perhaps anticipated, a strong race performance from Matt Daly. We knew from qualifying that he had good pace. He was already, after just 2 attempts, up in the mix for the front row. And it really came together for him in the race as well. If he'd had this consistency at every round this season, I think he would have been very much in the mix for the championship this first half of the year. Can you believe we're nearly the end of the first half of running already? Daly currently heading through the middle sector, 3.8 seconds clear of John Cole. John Cole at the moment is in the 21, so he's matching Matt Daly in terms of pace. It's just, unfortunately, too little too late by the looks of things for John Cole. Was in the lead of this race at the start, of course. We will have the reverse grid race coming up in a few moments' time, where the order is completely reversed, and it will be John Cole's opportunity to work his way through the field and try and build up an advantage over Matt Daly, as Matt Daly starts the final lap now. We'll stay on board with him, as we have done already, for one last go around here in race 1. Up next, it is the Cascades, which reminds me very much of the Hungaroring in a weird way. I don't know if anyone else gets the same impression, but that run from the Old Hall corner through to Cascades, obviously, I suppose the angles are a little bit more severe at Hungaroring, but I don't know, visually it sort of reminds me a bit of Hungaroring. I'm sure everyone else is going to be saying, Reeve, what on earth are you talking about? But I see it, so there's that. Anyway, Matt Daly exiting Knickerbrook now. Only 2 real corners left to negotiate. A few more officially on track, but these GT3 cars are very capable machines indeed, and don't really see the likes of Watertower as a proper corner. John Cole's had a collision with a wall. Can he get back underway? He can. He has got a fair margin to the likes of Barry Clayton behind. He just doesn't want to replicate that on this, the final lap. He wants to try and make sure he comes over with a secure P2, but someone's going to be coming home with a secure P1 in this, the first race of the evening, and it will be Matt Daly. He heads over the deer lead and crosses the line to take the race victory. Congratulations, Matt. A strong race performance the first half of this evening's racing. Well, he certainly jeopardised it on the final lap, but it will be John Cole who will be running up through the deer lead himself, and comes home a few seconds down in P2 in the end. At least he has been able to bring it home. Then rounding out the podium, we go on board with Barry Clayton taking P3 there, and then we have Andrew Brammer not too far behind in the end, running home in P4. A little bit of weight then to Jack Hodson and Rosie Oliver, so it's Will Inglis who will be classified P7, Steve Knight classified P8 in the end, and then basically, well, for Jack Hodson and Rosie Oliver. Other drivers completing their in-laps, getting ready for race to a bit of a chance for a breather, maybe some separate tweaks if needed. Jack Hodson can't think about that just yet, though. He's thinking about crossing the line as he comes home to take P5 in the end, and then a few seconds behind, just heading through that final corner. Now it is Rosie Oliver, podium hopeful, of course, at the start of this race. Maybe the reverse grid race will give her a few more fortunes for the second half of this evening's racing. As Rosie crosses the line there to take P6 in the end, we get ready for race 2, the reverse grid race, coming up in just a few moments. welcome back to the action, ladies and gentlemen. Just over 20 seconds now until lights out. So it's Willie List, Rosie Oliver on the front row, Jack Hodson and Andrew Brammer on the second, Barry Clayton, John Cole on the third, and Matt Daly and Steve Knight rounding out the field for this evening's reverse grid race. This is a real chance for Willie List to show what he ended up missing out on in the first race. As the revs begin to rise, we have 6 red lights on the gantry, and we are away for race 2 here at Alton Park. A slow start for Rosie Oliver. That brings Jack Hodson right alongside as we head into the Old Hall corner. There's contact between John Cole and Barry Clayton, but they are able to continue on. Someone isn't, though. That looks to be... Is that John Cole? That is John Cole. Contender for race lead in race 1. Hopeful for race lead in race 2. Finds himself planted in the barrier at Old Hall. A great shame for John Cole there as he starts very much on the back foot. Meanwhile, it'll be Willie List leading this race. Jack Hodson in P2. Rosie Oliver nearly making contact in P3 as we all head through Shell Oils and make it through without a hitch. Well, most of us make it through without a hitch. Sorry, John. It's Andrew Brammer running in P4. Matt Daly still in P5. Hasn't been able to make any major lunges or breakthroughs, but that is sometimes the best thing to do. We saw it in race 1. Race 1 was very much a race of attrition, as it turns out. So if he just plays safe and is able to make a position through some strong pace and make some tactical moves here or there, I'm sure he'll be finishing with a good result anyway with Matt Daly. Rosie Oliver there with the fastest Sector 2 out of any driver. She's still running in P3. She's been in this position before in this evening's running. Hopefully it goes a little bit better for her this time around, though, as we head through the Old Hall corner once again, this time at full race pace, and it is going to be Willie List versus Jack Hodson. Willie List didn't get to demonstrate just how strong his pace can be. Well, he was able to demonstrate how strong his pace was, just unfortunately we weren't able to really see it because he was all the way down in no man's land effectively with that early race incident. Jack Hodson, though, currently under pressure from Rosie Oliver. Matt Daly is up into P4. Meanwhile, head of Andrew Brammer and about 7/10 of a second down on Rosie Oliver. I imagine he's potentially waiting for these two in front of him to start battling, really, to wait for his overtake. That could be a smart move if he does so. He knows that Rosie Oliver and Jack Hodson are going to want to fight regardless, so let them slow each other down, and then he can just work his way up into 3rd or 2nd position. Andrew Brammer and Barry Clayton are also in the midst of battle. We've seen quite a few battles. In lieu of Alan Matthews versus Barry Clayton, we often get Andrew Brammer versus Barry Clayton, which is good. They are brilliant midfield drivers. I'd say their racecraft from both those drivers is fairly top notch. And you always deliver with some brilliant racing. As we see Matt Daly having a look on the inside into Old Hall corner. That is a brave move. If you can make it stick, he thinks the better of it, but instead gets it done on the outside, get it done on the exit of the Old Hall corner. Just about manages to carry more momentum through, heading through Cascades now, and he's up into P3. Is Barry Clayton. A strong overtake there, elbows out. He realises, I suspect, and probably knows better than myself, that yes, it's all well and good picking your moments, but you need to bring some momentum into the middle part of the race. It's all well and good setting high 120s or low 121s if you're sat in P5 and about 12 seconds off the lead. You need to be keeping up with those leading cars, and that's what he's done there. He's now just behind Jack Hodson, who's only about 4 seconds down on Willie List. Willie List, a driver who he hasn't had any direct rivalry with in this evening's running so far, so I suspect it'll be new territory for us as we get to look forward to that. Just as we saw with Willie List in race 1, we see a driver working their way through the running from the back. John Cole, currently second purple sectors. That earlier race incident, of course, cost him. It's cost him some damage, and it's cost him track position as well. Still running it in P8 at the moment, still very much one last, but he'll be hoping to try and find his way through back up into the midfield. As he looks for a way around the outside there on Steve Knight, has the inside for the next corner, and that is a great move there by John Cole. That is John Cole up into P7 there. Put a lot of faith in his rival there to assume that Steve Knight was going to offer him some fair racing room, and he did. Good racecraft by both drivers there. Matt Daly up into P2 in the meanwhile. Sorry that I missed that one. It's Matt Daly up into second position ahead of Jack Hodson now, and now Willie Bliss begins to sweat and Matt Daly begins to really put the hammer down now. That's a 4-second gap between Matt Daly and double race victory. As we see Willie Bliss still setting purple sectors, so he's clearly meaning businesses, Willie Bliss. This is going to be a bit of a new territory for us here at Alton Park this evening. We get to see Willie Bliss fully unleashed with a healthy car and with confidence behind him. Not only confidence behind him, and Matt Daly behind him as well, and that is certainly a good thing to spur you on if you see a Matt Daly hunting you down. Running down towards the Lodge corner, it's Willie Bliss and Matt Daly trading purple sectors. Willie Bliss purple sector 1, Matt Daly purple sector 2. Into the 21s for Matt Daly on that last lap, just like Willie Bliss. We crossed the line once again. It's a 21.6, new fastest lap of the race on the 4th lap of this race. We saw a 121.3, our previous fastest lap, so we're already quite close to a very strong pace indeed. In fact, I'm wrong there. On the last lap, there was a 121.5 for Willie Bliss, so Willie Bliss maintaining that gap well, actually holding the fastest lap of the race so far. Barry Clayton losing position by the looks of things. That is a great shame for him. Actually, I don't think that was. I think that may have been a timing error. We also see John Cole clear of Steve Knight, of course, with that fantastic move earlier on. Everyone else heading through his laps and Nickelbrook as we speak. All of the midfield actually heading through that. So as we suspect, it's going to be a very competitive midfield here this evening. Speaking of this evening, let's have a look at how the championship is shaping up after race 1. John Cole, of course, consolidates his P2 in the standings, 268 points to his name now getting perilously close to Colin Keith. John Cole still very much in the mix for this Touring Car Championship fight. He could come away with the Nitro 9 Corsa Touring Car Championship trophy if he is able to take the top spot here. Matt Daly, of course, also building plenty of points in that race, as was Barry Clayton, only 6 points down rather on Alan Matthews at this stage. Willie Bliss only 2 points down on Barry Clayton, so as things stand, Willie Bliss will be jumping up into P4 ahead of Alan Matthews and Barry Clayton. Barry Clayton in P5 and Alan Matthews dropping into P6. Andrew Remmer, 109 points to his name as well. He will build a few points from this, as will Jack Hodson. Rosie Oliver will be overtaking Steve Knight as things stand as well. With Steve Knight consolidating his lead over the likes of Paul Miller and Andy Craig. Hope you're enjoying your holiday, by the way. Paul Miller, he's currently enjoying the sun in Spain, I believe, which is alright for some. I certainly wasn't enjoying this instead. On a completely unrelated note to the world of AROC racing leagues, as we see Jack Hodson finds himself in P8 now with a suspect. Yep, that was. No, it wasn't a pit stop for Jack Hodson, it was just a bit of an incident at Nickelbrook by the looks of things, so that was a great shame for Jack Hodson, as Willie Bliss is setting purple sectors, trying to keep the measure on Matt Daly. Yes, today I certainly wasn't enjoying the sun. I was collecting a car on behalf of a friend from down south. I live in, of course. The car in question was, shall we say, a British manufactured Big Cat. It was a 4.2 litre supercharged Big Cat, so it's a rather nice power plant in a convertible car. A convertible car with a black fabric roof, which had no air conditioning, and it was 23 degrees, and I had trade plates to cool the roof down. So that was pleasant. So you're lucky you've got me, actually. I was expecting heat stroke. No, I actually nearly didn't make it this evening because, well, I didn't even make it at all because I'm pleased to report my little Mito QV that you've heard me complain about many times on this stream, as we are going to have a look at the battle between Andrew Gamma and Barry Clayton. You've heard me complain, not complain, just keep you updated with the many foibles of high movements of ownership. Has passed its MOT this week with 0 advisories. A brilliant car. And to reward it, I reinstated its engine tune. courtesy of Blue Spark, who we've seen on many liveries. Reinstall this little Blue Spark tuning box there for plenty of gusto, plenty of power. However, in order to get through temperature, you have to put some mild chopped tyres on it, and let's just say the transfer of power from the wheels to the ground is somewhat lacking, and there were a couple of moments where let's just say I nearly didn't make it on stream this evening. So it would have been a much more pleasant viewing experience had that gone wrong for me, because we've had to put up with my many aberrations from the brilliant racing action that we've currently got going on heading through the Shell Oils corner. But I'm ashamed to say I made it, so you're welcome. Anyway, here is Rosie Oliver currently running in P3. Jack Hodson having those issues earlier on. Motor back into running in P3. A chance at the podium potentially for Rosie, just as we saw in race 1. And now it's her chance again here in race 2. But she could be outdone by the likes of Andrew Bremer and Barry Clayton, who we've seen battling in race 1. They're battling once again in race 2. But are they going to be too embroiled in their own battle to really focus on that fight for the podium? Danny? I don't know. Rosie was certainly hoping that is the case, as Jack Hodson, I believe, has had another collision with a wall heading through his lock there. He has. That is a great shame. He's able to carry on though, but is under pressure from Steve Knight. This is a good chance for Rosie here if she's able to keep the pace up, which it looks like she is. She's still improving as things stand, and Andrew Ram and Barry Clayton keep themselves occupied with their own battling. Steve Knight has had a bit of a collision with a wall by the looks of things. He's able to carry on though. And I should mention, William Bliss at this point, we saw race 1 really not go his way, but race 2 looks to be looking much stronger. Not only has he dealt with the challenge from Matt Daly, he seems to be improving upon it as well. He is now 5 seconds clear of Matt Daly in this race, showing he really does have the pace. So good to see some variety in the podium this evening. As we have another look at the midfield action between Andrew Bremer and Barry Clayton. It's always feisty if it's Barry Clayton involved, and I think we're going to see that once again as we head up through towards Druids in just a moment's time. Having a look around the outside there, but Andrew Bremer's car, I must say, looks like an absolute monster in the straight. Has he cost himself a little bit of time though, going too deep into Druids? Let's see as we run down towards the Lodge corner now. We are not going to be side by side. I thought we might have been for a second. It's going to be Barry Clayton who has a look around the outside, potentially gets a bit of a switchback actually. Who gets a better run up now through Dear Lee? Got to carry this momentum all the way up towards the Old Hull corner. And it is going to be Andrew Bremer who comes out on top actually in this one. I say it like that's over. It's certainly not over as we head through Cascades in just a moment here. It's going to be Barry Clayton having dived down the inside there. There's contact between the two. I thought the back end on Barry Clayton's car was going to step out there. Luckily it wasn't that. It was certainly just a racing incident there. So Miami GP stewards, no need to kick up a fuss. I say that as a McLaren fan. I say that as a McLaren fan. So Barry Clayton still in P5, Andrew Bremer in P4 at the moment. They are still just about keeping up with Rosie Oliver as well. They've cost themselves a little bit of time with that trading of paint. So Rosie, I'm sure, was quite pleased with that one, but we are just past the halfway stage of this race now. It's still all to play for. 9 laps into this race, the fuel load getting lighter, the tyres, as we saw, not really dropping off. Maybe a tiny bit in the final few minutes, but nothing major at all. Willie Bliss leading this race by 3.5 seconds, so it looks to be that Matt Daly has closed up ever so slightly, but just not enough to cause too much concern to Willie Bliss just yet. But in 10 minutes anything can happen. Matt Daly's currently this is looking to be a strong lap from Matt Daly actually. He has just started though, in fairness. About to say he's about to half a second quicker, which will be the quickest lap we've seen so far this evening. But we're not going to see that just yet. Having a look once again at that midfield battle between Andrew Bremer and Barry Clayton. John Cole looks to have found his way past Barry Clayton, actually, because that is contact between John Cole and Barry Clayton. I didn't realise in all of that John Cole was closing up, and there has in fact been a major collision between John Cole and Barry Clayton. I believe Rosie Oliver has had an off. She's had a fairly substantial off as well at about 30 miles an hour. She has been able to carry on though, so I'm not sure what happened there, because Andrew Ramett is still behind, just very close behind indeed. Rosie Oliver feeling the pressure now. That podium very much under threat in the final 10 minutes of this race. We've got to run down towards the Lodge corner once more. Second, less than half a second, 2 tenths, and side by side now for Andrew Brammer. Another move around the outside. He's feeling confidence in that car, and with good reason as well. His best lap, a high 1 minute 21, as Will Inglis, clearly responding to the charge from behind, has just set a purple first sector. 3.5 seconds separate him and Matt Daly. He's maintained that gap and maintained it well for quite some time in this race now, so you can almost begin to see light at the end of the tunnel. Just that light isn't very big just yet, because while Matt Daly is in fact closing up that gap that was 3.5 seconds, now 3.2 seconds. These two looking a little bit close now, as are Andrew Brammer and Rosie Oliver. Still keeping up with Andrew Brammer, as I was saying was the case in race 1. It can be good to have a reference in front of you. Maybe if that driver has a little bit more pace at a given phase, having that reference out in front can certainly help you out in certain phases of the race. And given that Rosie shouldn't be feeling too much pressure from John Cole, although she will know that John is there, and John certainly has a strong amount of pace. At the moment, she just needs to focus on trying to keep up with Andrew, and that will ensure a little bit more safety from John Cole there, who's still hunting down Rosie in the 21s as well. Rosie last lap was in the 24, so I suspect we're going to see an overtake in the coming moments as we go on board with John Cole as we run up through to the first corner. Sorry, no, we're heading through Shallows. Of course we're heading through Shallows. There's a big heavy braking zone into a hairpin. How did I not know that? Anyway, we exit the hairpin there. And it's still Rosie Oliver ahead of John Cole by about 1 second as well. Speaking of about 1 second, Will Inglis has enjoyed about a 3 to 4 to 5 sometimes second lead in this race, but Matt Daly has closed it up substantially as well. Now only 1.2 seconds separate Matt Daly and Will Inglis. Got to say the pressure must be mounting for for Will Inglis. Now 7 tenths of a second faster on that previous lap, as Will Inglis is going to be pushing more and more, but that might not be the wisest thing to do at this phase of the race. The tyres are going to be a little bit worn out. The driver himself is going to be a little bit worn out. Andrew Brammer has had an incident, and it's a big off for Andrew Brammer. That was completely unprompted by the looks of things, and that is Andrew Brammer into the wall as we headed through the Lodge corner there. That is a great shame for Andrew, who was showing some real momentum in this race, a potential podium on the cards as well. That means Rosie Oliver, a potential podium, but it's going to be a tall order because she's got to keep John Cole behind, and I don't think she's going to be able to do that at this phase. Let's have a look. It's side by side. John Cole later on the brakes, but too deep into the shallow oils corner there. Rosie keeping it tight on the inside, takes the position back up towards the Hislop's bend in just a moment there. Fantastic defence there from Rosie Oliver. Let John Cole push himself too hard, and the position comes back to it. It's now Rosie Oliver back into P3, but for how long, that is the question, because let's not pretend that John Cole's completely out of this race. We have just over 5 minutes to go. John Cole is still hunting down Rosie Oliver and is just behind there, potentially benefiting from a tiny bit of slipstream, although these cars and on this circuit, not too much really to play for. John Cole is still putting that pressure on, as is Matt Daly on Will Inglis as well. Actually slightly slower on that lap. We saw Matt Daly making strides towards Will Inglis, but we've seen that slightly wane off now. Is Matt Daly just maybe slowing it down to try and bring a final push with slightly fresher, slightly healthier tyres later on? We'll just have to see. because we will have that question answered in about 3 to 4 laps' time. About 6 tenths down on Rosie Oliver at the moment, as Rosie heads through the inside of shell oils once more. It seems to be a line that works really well for her. As long as she defends the inside, that forces John Cole wide, and maybe the tyres just aren't quite gripping up for John Cole anymore. And that outside line there, where there's going to be tyre marbles, where there's going to be a less ideal track, and of course a wider corner radius as well. There's nothing that John Cole will really do if Rosie Oliver defends like that. This will be a fantastic story, a fantastic drive for Rosie Oliver if she is able to defend from championship contender John Cole to fight for a well-deserved podium. We haven't seen too many podiums from Rosie Oliver this season. We've seen plenty of opportunities for a podium, but unfortunately a few of them haven't come to fruition, so this will be thoroughly deserved if she's able to maintain this position for the final 5 minutes of this race. Between John Cole and Rosie Oliver, and once again the trick works. John really needs to try and get the nose out in front by the exit of Cascades, really, or at latest side by side as they exit Cascades. If he is even remotely behind, he's going to be forced. Well, not even forced. Rosie's going to have the pick track position, and she is quite rightly, quite correctly, and rather intelligently picking the inside line every time she defends from there, forces him wide, and there's nothing that he can do. This is brilliant driving from both drivers here. Great respect in this racing, in this battle between these two, for a very important position indeed. Rosie wants it, of course, because she wants another podium. This could benefit her in the championship standings immensely, but it will also be of major importance for John Cole in trying to build a few points. We're trying to get a few points closer to Colin Knief, because if Colin isn't present for a couple of rounds here or there before the end of the season, he's still very much in the mix for the championship here, but he needs that. Every single point he can get is absolutely pivotal to him at this stage of the season. We are just over 2 minutes to go in this race now. Will Inglis is also only just about 1 second ahead of Matt Daly. Gap closes up more and more. It looks like here that Will Inglis is struggling in terms of tyre life at the moment, because the car seems to be struggling to rip out of the exit through some of the corners there, so it could be a little bit sketchy now for Will Inglis and Matt Daly, but we are still keeping one eye on this battle for the podium, because arguably the stakes are higher in this battle for the podium than they are for this battle for the race lead at this moment in time. And the set, of course, had technology to see two feeds at one. Well, we could do that. We could have 2 camera car entries, and then I could patch them together if I used a commentary card. But that would be quite a lot of equipment involved, and I'm currently showing from my commentary box / bedroom. If we get the numbers up later on into the year, I'm happy to go back to the AROC pad. The AROC pad is all there and ready to go and working. Our much better version than the now no longer existent Skypad is the AROC pad, of course. And as I said, it's all ready to go, and it's really fun for me to use. So let's go back to the AROC pad. Anyway, just over 1 minute to go in this race. Yes, if we can go back to the AROC pod, maybe we can have kind of two feeds in one, although that would be probably a little bit overkill. Instead, I'll just clip between the two of them as we see Rosie pulling off her defensive move once more. Now she goes wide on exit. Has that given John Cole the opportunity to fight back? No, she has a good exit out of the Shell Oils corner, does Rosie Oliver. Meanwhile, Matt Daly just behind Will Inglis, only 2/10. Are they going to be side by side as we head down into the Lodge corner? No, not quite yet. Is that a flash of lights from Matt Daly? I think it might be, as he tries to really put Will at unease, if you will, as we start the next lap. The next lap will be the penultimate lap of this race as we head into the first corner of this penultimate lap then. In terms of their pace at the moment, they are neck and neck in the mid to high 21s. It is Matt Daly who has the overall fastest lap of this race with a 121.1. Could argue Matt Daly has the pace at this phase. The pace seems to have shifted ever so slightly from Will Inglis being stronger in the mid phase, maybe pushing too hard early on. So it's Will Inglis who is very much on the defence as we head through Shell Oils now. This time Matt Daly echoes what both Rosie, Oliver and Will Inglis are doing through the Shell Oils corner and keeping up with Will Inglis, but is keeping up enough. Seems to be doing a little bit more. Steve Knight has a collision there, I believe. John Cole seems to have dropped back ever so slightly. This has been a fantastic drive for Rosie Oliver. Unless anything slipped my mind, I'd have to say this is drive of the season for Rosie Oliver. And John Cole there takes a bit too much curb. That has cost him a huge amount of pace, because while that didn't cost him too much through the corner, it's cost him momentum, and that momentum is going to be exactly what it needs as he heads down towards his Lopton Clay Hill in just a moment there. That is exactly the opposite of what John Cole needs to do at this phase in the race. We are about to start the final lap of this race, and it's only half a second between Matt Daly and Will Inglis. We're going to head down into the first corner. Steve Knight is in the way. That is not going to help out Matt Daly's charge, but does it really matter in the end? I'm not so sure if it does. Around the outside there, Matt Daly, a fantastic move into the lead of this race. There's still traffic to contend with on this very narrow circuit. There's major contact. Our two race leaders in this race have made contact, and it's Matt Daly who actually is able to continue on. Will Inglis into the scenery. Oh my days, Matt Daly actually decides, very sportsmanlike of him, he concedes the lead of this race. He says, no, Will Inglis, you go on through, you deserve the lead, I'm going to fight you later in the lap instead. That is very kind indeed from Matt Daly. That is what we like to see. Will Inglis still leads this race. There's no obligation to do that from Matt Daly. But he decides, you know what, that incident was probably my fault. If you had to apportion blame, I think there was traffic involved there, so I'd probably call that a racing incident. It wasn't the fault of Steve Knight either. The onus is on the leading cars to get past fairly without blue flags. That is fantastic racecraft there. That is brilliant sportsman conduct from Matt Daly. He's going to wait to do it on track instead as we head on the exit of his lops. Now it's going to be Matt Daly around the outside there. Will Inglis defending this lead then as we head, sorry, not through his lops, as we head on to the Deer Leap for one last time. Who would have thought it? It's Will Inglis crossing the line. Matt Daly just 10ths behind. That's P1 and P2 there. A brilliant battle for the lead comes to a conclusion. A surprising conclusion, but a conclusion nonetheless. And here we have Rosie Oliver, ladies and gentlemen. Doff your hat. A fantastic drive, a defensive drive against John Cole. Rosie Oliver rounds out the podium, and John Cole coming home in P4 in the end. That was a brilliant defence from Rosie Oliver. That did not look easy at all. It certainly wasn't easy for Will Inglis as well. Will Inglis, who you would start the lap and say, yeah, you can see Will Inglis coming home, that looks easy, but it certainly was anything but on that final lap. Barry Clayton comes home P5, Andrew Brammer comes home P6. We have a bit of a wait from Jack Hodson in P7 and Steve Knight in P8 as well, but what a drive there. Some victory donuts from Will Inglis. I'm seeing in the paddock already over the comms we are getting congratulations to Rosie Oliver from John Cole there. That is what we like to see. We're seeing some brilliant examples of sportsmanship here. John Cole congratulating his rival there. Congratulations to Rose, congratulations to Will and Matt Daly as well. What a fantastic end to this race at Alton Park it has ended up being. Jack Hodson comes home P7 in the end, and Steve Knight works his way home in P8 for some points as well. What an exhilarating end to the racing here at Alton Park. That really came out of nowhere in the end. As we see the victory donuts completed, Matt Daly having a victory off by looks of things into the marshals. I'm not quite sure they appreciate that one. But that brings an end to the running this evening. Hope you've enjoyed watching as much as I've enjoyed commentating. We'll catch you a fortnight's time for round 10 of the 99 Quarter Touring Car Championship, and next week, of course, for the single-seater action. So from me, it's a good night.